see why he's our inspirational, motivational speaker at OU. You heard Adrian mention that before, and it always gets the students going when he comes and speaks, so we're so happy to have him on the faculty. All right, so now you've heard about the prehistory of Oaksterdam, what came before it. You've heard about the history of Oaksterdam, so now we're going to move on, in the present Oaksterdam, we're going to move on to the future of Oaksterdam. We are about to have a city council election in 2 weeks, and we have a candidate who worked on the Measure Z campaign, who won the primary or general election, or is going into the runoff with a 2-to-1 lead. She got 42% of the vote to her competitor, got 21% of the vote.
All right.
So it's looking really good, and let's let her tell you all this. Rebecca Kaplan, City Council.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Kaplan, and I am so honored to share the stage with these groundbreakers. Dennis, how fabulous. And I've got my hope pin on too.
All right.
All
yeah,
right.
Obama.
And Richard Lee, who has put himself on the line for this from day one. And so a little bit of background, because I know a lot of you come from many places and have not necessarily been following Oakland politics. But let me tell you something very few people know. Almost every amazing transformational movement has had a start in Oakland. 100 years ago, Oakland, California was the first city to have racially integrated labor unions. Over 100 years ago. And 50 years ago, when interracial couples were being harassed and arrested in other places, Oakland, California was one of the first places that was a safe place to live for interracial couples. And in the early days of the civil rights movement and the anti-apartheid movement, there have been many, many movements that have had core fundamental starts in Oakland, and Measure Z also started in Oakland, California. And Measure Z, which passed by over 65% of the vote in November 2004, calls for the taxation and regulation of cannabis for adults. And that passed overwhelmingly. And by the way, let me say, I just now left Congresswoman Barbara Lee's reception. That's where I was at right before this. And she endorsed Measure Z. That's our Congresswoman who represents this district. Not only was the one to stand up against the other war, the George Bush blank check for global war, she's also one of the few to stand up against this war, too. And this war costs billions, too. And just like the people in this community have understood for years that the Iraq War was a wasteful and destructive and harmful thing, so too we understand that the war on cannabis is a wasteful, harmful, and destructive thing. And I'm very proud to be represented by a congresswoman who understands both of those two things. And so, what about this city council race? And what about Oakland? And we're going to have some people are going to pass around some envelopes and some stickers and some newspapers while I'm talking. And yes, you are going to get hit up, but don't worry, it won't hurt. Why does this matter? In Oakland right now, we have a law. We have a law that was passed by the voters. And whether or not that law gets implemented depends on the city council. We have an opportunity here to fundamentally change the way cannabis regulation is handled in America by taking one city and one state at a time and showing that it is possible. We can take steps in Oakland not only because of cannabis law reform, but because of an economic crisis and a crime crisis. We can build a united movement that understands not only that we need marijuana law reform for its own sake, but that when you have a serious crime crisis, you cannot afford to waste police on adult private cannabis offenses, and that's something that should be clear to everybody. Yeah. And so we find ourselves in a situation where it's not just the cannabis reform movement that has a reason to care about this. This is also about truth, and it's also about democracy. And let's be clear, Prop 215 is the law. When the Bush administration sends armed thugs to attack licensed medical patients and licensed dispensaries, the Bush administration is the one breaking the law, not the patient. And we are on the side of the law. And when the federal government lies and says that cannabis is more dangerous than heroin, we are on the side of truth.
Right.
And truth has been a huge casualty of the past several years. And whether it's hiding the science about global warming or hiding the science about medical cannabis, we are standing for truth in a time when that itself has become known as a radical proposition. And we cannot let that happen. And I'll tell you one thing else. I want to close the gateway. This whole gateway drug nonsense,
Yes.
I blame them. Don't tell people marijuana is more dangerous than heroin. Are you trying to convince them to do heroin? I don't want more heroin use. I know it can hurt people. Now, perhaps they overstate how bad it is, but you know, when they say that marijuana is more dangerous than the heroin and cocaine, they are causing harm by doing that. And so we are also standing up for truth in this movement.
Right. Yeah.
And this is also going to be about financial sanity. Our state budget is broken. The biggest growing category of the state of California's budget is prisons. The biggest category of growth in the state of California's budget is prisons at a time when they are cutting funding for schools, parks, libraries. They are adding more money for prisons. And that harms everybody. And so I am seeing a future for our movement where everybody, even people who do not care about marijuana law reform, are going to stand up and say, we have to stop wasting the money, we have to stop wasting the resources, we have to stop wasting the lives, we have to get over this insanity, and we have to stop lying to ourselves. And we will build an amazing opportunity in Oakland to show what is possible. And so, let's be clear here. Okay, so the question isn't how much would you pay for free pot? How much would you pay for free pot? It's how much would you pay to free the pot? Now, there's some people going around with envelopes. There's one over there, and the hat. The legal donor limit by Oakland law is $600. You're not allowed to give more than that even if you wanted to. Now you might think $600 is a lot of money, but this election is once every 4 years. Would you pay $4 a month to have taxation and regulation of marijuana be implemented in this country right now? So I am asking you to consider what you can do. And if you can give $600, please do. We have 2 weeks left to this election, and there's no excuse to lose it. And if you, whatever you can give, time, money, energy, phone calling, sign up. We also have the handy newspaper with the handy sign built in that you can put up. And join us, because this is within our hands. It is possible. I have the endorsement of up and down the table from the San Francisco Bay Guardian to the Oakland Tribune to the Labor Council to the Democratic Party. And the only thing between us and victory is having the money to send the mail to make sure we reach the voters in the next 2 weeks. So give what you can. Come phone bank. Get involved. Thank you very much.
I've known Rebecca since 2003 when we first started working on Measure Z. And like I said, please, any pocket change, even if you only have a couple dollars, it all adds up and helps. So, you know, as they say, money is the mother's milk of politics. And so please give generously. So that's, the other panel went over, so we don't have time for Q&A, unfortunately, but we'll be up here. You can come up and talk to us individually, I guess. And thank you for coming here to listen to us instead of going home today and partying in your room.